Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.
Welcome to the Bird Gang Nation Sports Media Show. Repping the greatest team of all time. Let's go! Bird Gang 31, he be the host with the most. We going deep, burning teams. They ain't nothing but toast. It's in your rest there. Sirianni put me in coach, running like Miles Sanders till I bump my head on the post. Touchdown! Yeah, that's coming. Devontae's crazy route running. Jalen hurting them, throwing lasers. The Rager young gunning. Come on! On the D side, we ride, sack him with Fletcher, lay him out on the stretcher. No one can protect you. Watch Darius lay him, shutting down your routes. Come on. In my green John, eating Philly cheesesteaks. Put up your cups, wings up, if you can relate. Tailgating at the link like Gangsta Stride. To the Bird Gang Nation, that's worldwide. On Sundays, catch the pre and post game. Mondays is Birds on Broad Street with Philly Notion and Cool Cat, the man in motion. And Wednesdays, the midweek special got you open with JC from Eagles Talk. Hitting like B-Dog, baby.
Welcome to another edition of Bird Gang Nation Sports Talk. I'm your host, Bird Gang 31. And today, Nation, we got a very special guest in the building. It's Joe from the Cardinal Rule. How you doing today, my guy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate that.
Nice. So go ahead and let everybody know, we know you are a bird just like us. Now, we were talking backstage about who's the real Bird Gang Nation. Right. We already know who that is. That's us Philadelphia fans over here. But go ahead and let everybody know, a little bit about your channel.
Yeah, so I'm Joe. I run the channel, The Cardinal Rule. Started back in April of last year. I do Arizona Cardinals content creation, short videos, long videos, live streams. Talk about the Cardinals. Loved my team, been a fan for a long time, and that's the best place to find me, The Cardinal Rule. My social media links are available there as well. That's what I do.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. How are you feeling about your team this year? First give us the expectations going into the season and how they reach those expectations. Let's talk about it.
The expectations going into the season were there was a lot of anxiety. Cardinals fans were, really frustrated about the way things ended last season. They started out so hot, right? 7-0. And then the way the season fell apart at the end, Cardinals fans very frustrated. And then the playoff game that was just absolutely a debacle. And then this offseason, fans kept waiting for the big signings. Watching all the other teams in the league, having these big splash signings, and the Cardinals were going after kind of smaller names, guys like, Will Hernandez, and who's ended up being a very nice signing for us, but under the radar types. And fans were really frustrated by that. And, a lot of fans were coming into the season feeling like, man, this team hasn't done enough to compete in the NFC West with the defending champs, the Rams. And, there's a lot of kind of concern coming in. And that, the team starts out the way they did, getting blown out by the Chiefs in week 1, barely coming away with the victory against the Raiders in a game that required improbable play after improbable play to get there, right? Winning on a fumble recovery in overtime, and then losing to the Rams, coming back and beating Carolina, a team that, is really struggling, and, not trying to talk trash, but probably one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. And I think Panthers fans would probably agree with that right now with the way their team's playing. So Cardinals fans, are really like hoping this team's ready to turn the corner, but not feeling great about where we, how we've gotten to 2-2 right now.
Okay. What about the draft? Any players from the draft that you've been playing good so far this season?
So, and this is another point of frustration for Cardinals fans, is that most of the draft picks aren't really playing much, if at all. We traded away our first round pick for Hollywood Brown, who's been playing really well for us, with his college, quarterback Kyler, right, from Oklahoma. Our second round pick, Trey McBride, got his first NFL reception in week 4, had 3 catches. So he hasn't played much. I'm not worried about that so much. Tight ends take time to develop usually. I mean, you all have had some good tight ends here, in Philly with Ertz and Dallas Goedert, and you saw that they needed a year before they were really kind of ready to, contribute. But he hasn't played much, and fans are frustrated. We had 2 third-round picks, both pass rushers. One of them has been inactive. Myjai Sanders out of Cincinnati has been inactive every game. Cameron Thomas out of San Diego State has played some, but very limited snaps. And just on down the line, those draft picks have not really played much, if at all. So I love our draft class. I think there's some really good talent there. They're just not seeing the field yet. And a lot of Cardinals fans are frustrated with the coaching staff for not playing rookies enough. That they don't give them that you see good teams that are playing rookies and getting them snaps, right? You guys have a couple nice rookies on your roster that are getting some snaps, right? Yeah. And you got to play them to develop them, and Cardinals fans are frustrated that we're not seeing that happen. But those pass rushers, Cameron Thomas and Myjai Sanders, I like their potential. I love that draft strategy, like the Ravens always do, where you draft those pass rushers in those middle rounds, develop them. It takes a couple years, but they always have that pipeline. So maybe the guy walks in free agency, they get a compensatory pick, and they draft another one, but that next guy's ready to go. And I think, so I love drafting those 2 pass rushers in round 3, because I think that hopefully sets us up to have that kind of developmental pipeline. There's a guard we got in the 7th round, Marquise Hayes, who probably should have gone earlier. Unfortunately, he's on the injured reserve, but look, he's a guy who I like his potential. So there's players to like. We're just, not really seeing him on game day this year.
Okay. And I see that, I've seen the thumbnail. We got some players with some connection here. Kyler and Jalen, they're around the same age. They both went to OU. Kyler won the Heisman. Jalen came runner-up. They played his rookie year, I believe it was, in a nice shootout against you guys. What I'm saying? You guys did pull that one out. So I think Jalen's 0-1, in the matchup. So how do you feel about both the quarterbacks? Give me a little bit about Kyler and give me a little bit about Jalen.
Yeah, like Kyler, I'm a big believer in Kyler. I think the talent is there, that is, rare talent. When you look at Kyler, like kind of the stereotype is quarterbacks who run a lot don't always have the most accurate arms, is kind of that stereotype. But like Kyler has the arm. He sometimes has a bonehead play and throws an interception like he did last week for a pick 6. But like his accuracy, especially on deep balls, is uncanny. Right. So the way I always describe it is there are maybe 2 or 3 quarterbacks at best in the NFL who can run like Kyler or as well as Kyler. There's different running styles, but like Lamar can run as well as anyone, right?
Yeah,
So
he's
maybe
the best runner for sure.
yeah, I mean, they run him more, so certainly they get more out of it. In terms of ability to run, I think they're kind of in the same category. Just Kyler doesn't run as often, but but like there's only maybe 2 or 3 guys in the NFL as far as quarterbacks who can run as well as Kyler. And there are a handful of guys who can throw as well. Right? There's guys with great arms, but I don't think there's anyone in the NFL that does both as well as Kyler does. Like, I think Kyler's got a better arm in terms of accuracy than Lamar. Lamar's decent. I mean, he's MVP, right? So,
right.
He's good. But I think Kyler's got a better arm. There's guys like Mahomes that have a better arm than Kyler, but they don't run like Kyler, right? So, like, there's that rare combination of being able to throw and run that I don't see. I just don't think anyone else can do the combination of things Kyler can do. He's got holes in his game, but every quarterback has something, right, that they don't do quite right as well as other quarterbacks.
Right.
So I'm a big believer in the talent with Kyler. You just got to kind of surround him and have the right talent. Your quarterback Hurts has shown to be a really good quarterback. He was drafted in the second round, so he wasn't as highly touted as, a first round quarterback. And, going into the season, I looked at when I looked at the Eagles roster, I said, man, this is one of the best rosters in the NFL in terms of across the board. The only question mark is, what will Jalen Hurts give them, right? And he played reasonably well last year, enough to have hope. And he seems to be playing well this year. So, he seems like a quarterback you can win with if you have the right team. I don't know, and I'm not trying to hate on him, but I don't know if he's that guy that can carry a team. Just haven't seen that yet. Don't get me wrong, he's playing really well this year, but he also has, again, like I said, in my opinion, one of the better rosters in the NFL around him. But you all have a great team, and clearly there's a reason you're 4-0, right?
Right. Yeah. Hey, it's so funny the way you were just describing Kyler. That's how I feel about Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? The exact same way. I'm like, he got a little bit better arm than you think. And his legs are obviously good, but they're not as, Lamar Jackson style. For me, Jalen Hurts been breaking records, since he's been playing. Every time you turn around, you see Jalen's first quarterback threw 4,000 yards, rushed for 1,000 yards his first 22. He just does. And he's just such a leader, too, at the same time. It's like you need time to develop. So as a first year, last year starting, I know it's the second year, but the first year starting, I think that was a good, foundation of what you think you can expect to see from a quarterback like him. They both come from winning colleges, so they already got that winning pedigree in them to the point where, these guys are going to win some football games. You get the team around them. I feel like I tell the Eagles fan, we gave them like a Cadillac last year. And we're like, here you go, your Cadillac. Let's see what you can do with this Cadillac. You got new coaches in. You don't want to give it all this newness. You didn't want to, build a complete team right then and there. Plus, we were in some salary cap hell. And those guys made it, 9-7, playoff first round bounce. But did a good job out there. So I think this year, the team got Howie and the rest of those guys got behind Jalen and Nick, and they actually built it, like you said, the best roster in the NFL. I don't know too many rosters that are as deep as we are, in every position. Like, you can really go down the list and just like, we're top, we got one of the best receiving trios even. We got one of the best cornerback trios. We got the best offensive line, best defensive line. It's like we have a lot of star power on both sides of football, and that also helps with development of quarterbacks. When you have all these great players around them, you got a good defense to get them the ball back, a lot more times. So, yes, you can say that the team itself does help elevate Jalen, but I just think the leader that Jalen is, he, helps elevate these players as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's having a great season and he's trending in the right direction. I think, I don't watch him as much as you do. From my perspective, I think I want to see it a little longer before I'm going to buy into like he's that guy. But he's looking good so far. If he keeps doing what he's doing, then I'm going to be convinced, if he can put that together over the course of the full season, right? He's definitely off to a great start for sure.
Hey, shout out to JC Castro NFL. He said, hey, what record do you think the Cards will have this year? Shout out to you for the $5 super chat. Much love.
Ooh, man, that's a tough one because like we were talking about this a little before. Like what are the Cardinals really going to be this team that's struggling, or are they getting ready to turn the corner? And when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, are they going to be, are they going to be, much better? And so I started out the season picking 11 wins. Things have started out a little rough. Right now, I'm going to be a little optimistic and say that they find a way to get to 10 wins, that they kind of, even though the start, has been kind of rough, that they turn it around. Right. So I'm going to go with 10 wins right now.
Nice. In a division, you guys had last year the best division in football. I think personally, hands down, the Seahawks was pumping on all cylinders. You guys, the Rams, the 49ers, I'm saying a lot of good talent over there. I see the division kind of broken down. The Rams don't look the same, as they did last year. Russ left Seattle, so they're a hit and miss team there. And then you got the 49ers who's starting to come alive now with Jimmy G, but still aren't as strong as they were last year. How do you feel, and how do you see that division shaping out this year?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams you thought would be the class of the division winning it again, right? And they've really struggled. They've got destroyed against 49ers, just looked really bad. They've had some injuries. They're having a tough time. I think they'll figure it out and still end up being a playoff team, and they might still end up winning the division. The 49ers, man, it's interesting because like Trey Lance is kind of the guy with the upside, the guy you want to build and develop, has the star potential. Jimmy G is much more of a game manager type, but they're probably a better team with Jimmy G right now, right? Hurts hasn't developed, or not, I'm sorry, Hurts, Lance. I can't, so many trades. Trey Lance hasn't developed into the guy they wanted him to be just yet. So they could end up, they've got a great defense. They've got some playmakers. So San Francisco might end up winning this division. And then Seattle, I think they're going to end up last place in division, but man, they're feisty. Like Seattle is not, they are not, going down easy. Right, they are fighting, and they're doing well. I see that
Geno Smith over there, right? Who would have thought Geno's playing some good football?
Man, that guy. I mean, with what we saw from him with the Jets, and and he paid his dues, spent some years as a backup. Kind of just kept doing the work, going to work every day, and it's working out for him right now. I see this question: do you miss Reddick, and why did they let him go? I absolutely miss Hassan Reddick. Man, I got feelings about Reddick, and they're not like negative, like in terms of towards him. I actually I feel like the Cardinals organization mishandled his early part of his career. They drafted him, to be, he was a pass rusher in college, but he was a little bit undersized. They drafted him based on those physical traits and thought, hey, we can turn him into an off-ball linebacker. And they tried doing that, and he struggled. And then the new coach came in, and in his second year, Cliff Kingsbury kind of put him back on the edge. And then we had some injuries. Chandler Jones missed some time. And lo and behold, he puts up 12 and a half sacks or whatever, and ends up being really good. And then the Cardinals don't re-sign him. He goes, as you know, to Carolina, and then he goes home to Philly, being from that area. Listen, he's the one free agent. If you ask me, is there a free agent out there that the Cardinals let walk that I wish we didn't? He's the guy. A young pass rusher who's shown that he's a double-digit sack guy multiple seasons. He's that guy, I think, and he's a guy I wish we kept around. Kudos to you guys for having him back home, where he's from. So I absolutely miss him. I don't begrudge him for leaving. Listen, the Cardinals organization, and I'm a diehard Cardinals fan, but I can objectively say they cost him money. Because if he had been a pass rusher from day one, and when his rookie deal was up, was a free agent with multiple seasons of pass rush production under his belt, he would have been, he signed that 1 year deal in Carolina for what was it, $8 million or whatever it was. He would have been signing like a 5 or 6 year deal for a whole lot of money, right? He finally got paid in Philly, but he would have been, he's in the end, he still missed out on some money because of that. So yeah.
He was a monster last game, man. Last name Reddick did his thing. The last game there. I love having him on the squad for sure.
So yeah, man, you guys got a good one there. Cardinals fans definitely don't begrudge him for leaving. We wish we still had him, but I think every Cardinals fan that I talk to at least feels like the organization kind of did him wrong. and maybe, they weren't trying to do him wrong necessarily. It was mismanagement trying to change his position, right? But a lot of us wish that they had kept him at edge rusher and then kept him around and extended him, and we'd have a number one pass rusher right now, in Reddick. But you guys benefited from that, so kudos.
Well, you guys got an old Eagle as well, Zach Ertz. You know what I'm saying? Like Zach Ertz, one of the greatest tight ends here in Philadelphia. So how do you like Zach? It's his second year with you guys now. What kind of role are they scheming out with Zach? And talk a little bit about how much you like Zach, and if you watched a little bit of any of Dallas Goedert, his replacement here in Philly.
So I haven't watched much of Goddard, but I know I've seen the numbers. I see you guys went from one great tight end to another, right? So so I can understand why you were willing to let him go. Cardinals fans love having Ertz. I mean, he's a solid player. He's the best. Like the Cardinals in the years I've been watching, which is basically since they moved to Arizona, have never really had a good tight end. Like, we just don't have great tight ends in our history, at least not in the Arizona era. He's like the best tight end the Arizona Cardinals have had since they've been in Arizona, already. So we love having him, a tight end who can, make plays, catching the ball. We'd like to see them use him more. I think his usage has been down a little bit, but we love having him here. We like what he's given us thus far.
Nice. So, and you said you haven't seen too much of Goddard. So who would be the main focal point of you guys' offense right now? It's Hops have been out, right? So, who are you guys really, who are you surprised to see step up in that role and become the leader of that offense?
So I don't know if I'd say a surprise, but the guy who right now is kind of the leader in terms of catching the ball is Hollywood Brown. He's been our leading receiver, and he's had some nice games and nice plays. Another guy though that's kind of he didn't have a great game this last game in terms of targets, but another guy that Cardinals fans really love is Greg Dortch. He's a guy who was on our practice squad last year, and he's one of those guys. Hey, what's up, CTH? Thanks for dropping by and hanging out. He's one of those guys who has bounced around the league a little bit, and he's a slot receiver. He's a little bit of a smaller guy, but man, he played so well in those limited snaps last year. He played really well in the preseason, and through the first 3 games, he was our leading receiver. Now, again, with Rondale Moore is healthy, and he played a lot this game, so they did not use Dortch as much, but he's another guy that has become a fan favorite. So Hollywood Brown and Dortch, and obviously Ertz has been a major part, one of the bigger parts of the offense as well, catching the ball.
Nice. He got a question. He said 3 keys for the Cards to win the game versus the Eagles, and vice versa for me, 3 keys. So I'll let you go ahead and go first.
Wow, 3 keys. Okay, the first key is the Cardinals have to not start out slow. If you look at what's gone on with the Cardinals, it's been a tale of 2 halves in their games. First halves of the games, their offense and defense have both struggled, giving up more points and not scoring as many points. But in the second half, they've turned it on, at least in a couple of their games. So the first key for the Cardinals is not starting out slow, right? They're going to need a better effort than what we've seen from them to beat a team, like the Eagles. The second key is going to be keeping Kyler clean, which I know is tough because you all have some really good pass rushers, right? You have some guys interior and on the outside who can get to the quarterback. You got to give Kyler time to make the plays. And if he does run once in a while, he's got to have room to do that. So keeping Kyler clean, and that's going to be tough because we've got a banged up offensive line, right? And I'd say the third key is going to be for the defense to play like they did, in that Carolina game. Our defense struggled again against Kansas City, but played really well since then, especially in the second halves. But if that defense can, kind of contain the Eagles offense a little bit, you're not going to shut them down, but if you can contain them a little bit, the Cardinals offense has the ability to put up points, right? If they're on. So, listen, I know, and I see someone saying Arizona not beating us. Listen, the Eagles are favored and they should be. They're 4-0. The Cardinals are 2-2. But anyone who says the Cardinals can't beat the Eagles hasn't watched enough football. Any given Sunday, right? The Eagles are favored. If you ask me objectively, who do I think is going to win? I'm going to say the Eagles. But can the Cardinals win? Absolutely, right? They have playmakers. They have a defense that has shown an ability to play well in stretches. Will they beat them? We'll see, right? Like I said, Eagles are favored, and they deserve to be favored. But it's absolutely possible the Cardinals can come out with a win.
Facts. Any given Sunday, anybody can lose. But Eagles fans are riding high. Like I said, like we feel like, hey, this team right here is something special. So we don't really, we don't take the schedule for granted, but we're still like, we should either be favorite or should win all these games. No one goes perfect seasons. There's going to be some games. We don't come with our A game against anybody. I think we can take that L. But for me, 3 keys to winning is just, get on track early, establish that ground game. Miles Sanders had a career high game last week, and let's see if we can continue that. You know what I'm saying? We have the talent at the receivers and, the skill positions. You got AJ, you got Smitty, you got Quez, you got Dallas. Those are nice receiving targets for Jalen Hurts to get the ball out to. And, you see in a couple of games, them take over games, kind of do their thing where 1 week you had AJ going for 155, the next you got Smitty going for 160. You know what I'm saying? Like where it's like you can spread that out. But the good thing's just to be balanced. Last game you see Miles Sanders tear it up, and it's just like if you can keep that consistency of being balanced throughout the rest of the season, it will be really, really hard to stop the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't want to see the team get pass happy. We started early last game trying to go back to that let's sling the rock, and it was raining in the middle of a storm. You know what I'm saying? They're still trying to sling that rock early, and you see what happens. That's when you get some of these mistakes happening. Some of these errors, interception, pick six to the house, things like that you don't really want to happen. But if you establish that run game, we're damn near impossible to stop, because not only do you have to look at Jalen passing this year, who's one of the best passers in the league. I think he's 5th in yards and have the highest quarterback rating as any quarterback this year. But you're also looking at like he's one of the most, like you said, we talked about Kyler, Lamar, and Jalen. Like they're some of the most explosive runners. And Josh Allen too. He runs the ball pretty good too. Yeah. Like these are guys that they will, run you over. They will freaking juke you out of your mind. I think back-to-back seasons, I've seen Jalen Hurts have one of the best runs of the year already. You seen that one with the Saints last year. That was just ridiculous. You just watched this one 2 weeks ago where he's like against the Giants where he does a spin move. He's dragging 3 guys into the end zone. Like that's the kind of stuff that amps people up. That's the kind of stuff that fires up a football team. And, and that's what kind of plays these guys can go out there and make. So I just want to, first off, make sure we get that run game started often and early. We got some pretty good backs. Miles, like I said, Kenny Gainwell does his thing. Trey Sermon came over. I know you're a little bit familiar with him being with the Niners. He came over and had a couple of nice runs. I think it was like 2 rushes for 19 yards, which it wasn't like, oh, wow. But when you see him in there, you seen his physical running style. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that they say they've seen too much of that when he played with the Niners. But, that's what we're looking for to help out over here. Another big back that, when we don't need to do quarterback sneaks all the time, we could just line up eye for him and hand it off to him and let him do his thing. So the sky's the limit there. Defensively, we see one game, 9 sacks against Carson Wentz. Last game, 5 turnovers, man. That's a lot of turnover. I know it was raining, but still, in any game, 5 turnovers is a lot for one game. We lead the league in takeaways and we lead the league in sacks right now. I feel like this team is just starting to gel, just starting to realize what the other player can do. Guys like Hassan, Reddick, like last game, came out and balled out. So, keep each other fresh, stay aggressive, get out the Kyler. Don't let him get out there on those wide runs and doing his Kyler Murray thing where he can just run around and make plays. If you let any quarterback do that, especially him, you're going to be in for a long day. So, you need to get out the Kyler, hit him hard, hit him often. You get Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Hargraves or Sweat to hit him, pop in his mouth the first quarter a couple times. Now you're going to be playing the Kyler Murray you want to play. You let this guy stay free, sit around, make decisions. You're going to be in a lot of trouble. So definitely get out the Kyler and then, control the clock. Last time we played, I think what was like 700 yards in that game or something like that. Like, Jalen threw for 3 something, Kyler threw for 3 something. You know what I'm saying? They were just like back and forth battling. Don't get into no shootout with these guys right now. You know what I'm saying? Like they got something to prove. They want to be the first to knock us off the, the top 2. You know what I'm saying? So, and then actually get to a winning record with 3-2, right? You guys are 2-2 right now, right?
Yeah.
So they're coming in here hungry, ready to get that win too. Zach Ertz got those boys pumped up, and Kyler got the rest of those boys too. So just make sure you control the clock, get after the quarterback, and then get that ground game running. That would be my 3 keys to
That
victory.
makes sense. I mean, those sound like good keys right there. Yeah. I mean, if you can get containing Kyler is probably the biggest key against the Cardinals, right? And some teams have found a strategy that works against him sometimes, which is they kind of use the outside pass rush to kind of contain him and keep him in the pocket, right? And then kind of close in on him and prevent him from getting that running going. And if you can do that, that you have a chance, you have a chance to contain him. But he's also, he's slippery though. It doesn't always work against him, and like we talked about earlier, he can throw it. So if the Cardinals offensive line gives him enough time, then he's gonna make you pay.
What would you say would be like your favorable matchup you think the Cardinals have going against this Eagles defense?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's tough. It's funny because like I was looking at the roster, I was looking at the PFF grades and like trying to find a weakness on the Eagles, and like the only thing I came up with was your punter. I mean, your punter is like 31st in the NFL and PFF grades. So I'm like, yeah, their punter sucks. That's it.
Yes,
right. Like, oh man. But all jokes aside, like, yeah, the favorable matchup. I mean, and that's tough because you guys are good in so many facets. I think, man, this is tough. Like, because like our running game has been reasonably effective, but you have some good defensive linemen, and good guys that can stop the run. We've got some fast receivers, but you got some good cornerbacks. I really think probably the best matchup is probably Kyler hitting Zach Ertz, because I think like your number one middle linebacker is really good. Your number two, you've got I think it's Nakobe Dean and another his young guy. I think you have, and
is Kaiser White and TJ Edwards.
Right. So like Kazir White's a nice player. Dean's a guy with potential, but I think perhaps like. And then, Gardner Johnson, you guys traded for him from New Orleans, and he's a good player, but his PFF grades are, thus far 44.7. So maybe he's struggling a little bit. So I'd maybe say that the tight end might be able to get some. And, we our tight end room is actually nicely deep. Like, Trey McBride, that second rounder, Max Williams, though he is banged up. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. So maybe our tight ends can take advantage of that number two linebacker and maybe your safeties, whoever's covering them a little bit. Maybe we can kind of get a few things going there.
And then that's one of them players. It doesn't matter who you got out there. You can have the best safety linebacker out there. He's a veteran. He's a seasoned vet at that. So he knows how to get separation. He knows how to get open. Like if Kyler, should be Kyler's best friend out there, come this week. Because like you said, I feel like our cornerbacks, man, they're playing at a high level. I don't know if Slay, he's questionable for this game with a forearm injury. Hopefully he plays. But if not, you got the McPherson from last year who didn't play that great last week, but he didn't play that bad either, for just spot duty, not having all week practicing with their ones, So I'm not really worried about that. You can look at Bradbury over there who seemed to find, rejuvenate his career, was a Pro Bowler last year with the Giants, didn't do too much because the Giants just sucked in general. And then, with us, having a talented defense around, you're starting to see those Pro Bowl type, characteristics come out in his place. So, and then you got Maddox who's hurt, but Josiah Scott is another, short, good corner, that can play the slot. Plus, we got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson who can, move up there. He played corner. He was slot corner last year that actually is playing safety for us. So, I think that would probably be the best matchup, to really expose on this Eagles team is, use Zach. If Zach come into play, have one of them big time Zach Ertz type game, and you guys get him involved, that should be something to watch out for.
Now, I didn't know Maddox was injured, so that I think changes the calculus a little bit because we've got a couple nice receivers in the slot. I mentioned Greg Dortch before, and Rondale Moore, who's coming back, who's from healthy, who's a second round pick last year. And so I think our slot receivers, if you're playing, and I looked at the PFF grades, and the guy who's going to be playing hasn't graded particularly well. You're kind of your backup at slot. So I think the Cardinals, that's a place they could also take advantage of, those slot receivers against, going against a backup slot cornerback with Avonte Maddox out.
How do you feel about what's going on with Hop?
I wish he was.
Do you think Kyler? It's just like that. This is what's stunning. He was hurt with you guys for a while, and then now you got the suspension. It's like, do you think this is stunning Kyler's growth? Like, if he had this legit receiver game in, game out, we've seen the difference. To me, I think he plays a lot different when Hop's there. He looks a lot better out there. But what's your take on that one?
I mean, obviously your offense is going to work better when you have DeAndre Hopkins, right? I mean, and he's the guy who, when you need that play on that conversion on third down, right? He's that guy who gets that play for you. And has it been stunting his growth? I think Cardinals fans would argue that Coach Kingsbury's offense has if anything stunted Kyler. It's that, but it's definitely impacting it, right? The receivers, aren't the same without him. And they've had some other guys that have been banged up. Rondale Moore, just played his first game of the season in week 4. AJ Green has been banged up. It hasn't been particularly effective. Another one of our depth guys, Antoine Wesley has been banged up. We're finally getting him back. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'd say it stunted his growth, but clearly, like, you look at how good they were the first half of last season, like that Cardinals offense was legit in the first half of 2021. And DeAndre Hopkins was a big part of it. Down the stretch, he was banged up, and they lost him towards the end with an injury, and that offense, faltered. So it's definitely impacting things, and this offense has come out slow. I don't think it's stunted his career or his development, but clearly he's more effective when he has a guy like DeAndre Hopkins out there.
Yeah, like even like for example with Jalen last year, all we did really, you could say Pascal too, but all we really did was add AJ. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the major difference that turned our receiving core from one of the worst in the leagues to one of the best in the league. When you got a lot of young guys, it's good that they have talent and potential, but you need that veteran, that guy to come in and that could be that, cornerstone, and be that star receiver for you. And I think that helped all of them get better. You know what I'm saying? Devontae looks a lot better now. He's going against second and third corners now. Everybody else out there, Quez, all those guys look a lot better this year too, now that we got AJ. So that's what I mean by, like, in terms of studying. Like, that helped Jalen elevate his game probably even farther than what people thought he was going to do. By having his best friend on the squad who actually is already a Pro Bowl receiver in the league.
And no, that makes sense. I mean, having that guy, makes a big difference, right? So, yeah, absolutely, right? Who is Paul Turner? I'm not sure.
Paul Turner, is that who used to play for the Eagles? Did he play for you guys?
There's a football wide receiver, Paul Turner.
He used to play with the
Eagles, never played with the Cardinals. Do I want to Paul Turner? No, thanks, but thank you that's very generous of you. He looks like he was a wide receiver, played with the Eagles, 2016, Saints. No,
he never played with you guys?
No, it doesn't look like it. I just looked him up and I didn't see him at any point having been with the Cardinals, but yeah, I look like Santa. I've heard that a few times. Yeah. Oh, so you're saying you want one? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh, you look like Santa.
I want one. You want one?
Have you ever been Santa for the holidays?
I have not, but I do get that all the time. That I look like Santa. So, it depends on how you behave. You might be getting coal. But yeah. So yeah, okay.
Is it a question if you had a magic wand that could make one player on your IR roster completely healthy for this season, who would it be?
This is a good one because a lot of the guys, it's tough because like a lot of the guys are getting healthy, but are a little banged up. I mean, Hopkins isn't injured; he's just suspended, right?
Right.
So like, I think right now I'd probably actually go probably with Rashard Lawrence, which is maybe an underrated name. He is a defensive tackle who they drafted in the 4th round a few years ago, and he's not someone maybe you've heard of unless you know LSU or you follow really closely. But he is a guy who has been probably our best run-stopping interior defensive lineman and has played really well this year. And he had a hand, I think broke his hand, had surgery, and he's going to be out at least one more game, maybe 2. Well, they're kind of taking it week by week, so they hope to get him back. But the Cardinals struggled against the run last year. That's kind of one of their areas that they've had to work on, and he's been a guy who's been pretty good against the run, has graded in the 70s. So I'd love to have him healthy right now.
For me, I don't think who's on IR for us. I know Dillard is, so I know he's in his practice window, so he'll be back soon. What I wish, if Mailata was out this week, that he was there to fill in, of course. But Driscoll doesn't do that bad of a job for me to really worry about it. I guess I would say Tyree Jackson, the tight end that we got over there.
Former quarterback, right?
Yeah, he had an awesome last year, awesome preseason. And then we waited for him to play all the season. The first couple of games, he wasn't even pretty much part of the offense at all. And then he had a couple of nice catches. Then he got hurt again. So then he was out again. So then, we haven't seen him this year either. He's on IR again, so he broke his back or whatever. But it's just the talent that they still say, obviously we're keeping him on the roster for a reason. He's got some talent there. His size, you can't really teach that size for a tight end. And I would say I would rather him not have gotten hurt and been on IR. So he could have been practicing. We could have got a chance to see him. And maybe he could have been a great compliment to a guy like Dallas Goedert. So that'd be who I'd probably say I wish was off IR there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Joseph Bergen may ask Joseph to play a song for us.
Everyone asked me
to play.
What's
that about? What's
I got
about?
guitars on the wall, so everyone asked me to play. I when I hit 3,000 subscribers, I recorded 3 chords, me playing 3 chords, and played that during a live stream. But yeah, so I do play a little music for fun with folks, but I don't really do that on my YouTube stuff.
I remembered Paul. I remember he was a receiver for us. I thought you were saying he played on.
Yeah. I was confused by that too. Was he a preseason star? Was he one of those guys?
Yeah, one of those guys. He had some nice catches throughout the season. A little, tweener type guy. He's skinny guy, a little skinny guy. So he wasn't too special though. So it is what it is. No disrespect.
There you go.
But back to this game. So give me your top 3 players that you worry about the most having an impact in this football game.
The top 3 Eagles players?
Yeah.
So Hassan Reddick, getting to our quarterback, right? So that would be one. If they put, and really you could say any of the pass rushers, but since we've talked about him, I'm gonna go with Hassan. That would be one. I'm gonna go with probably Darius Slay. Again, you could go with any of your cornerbacks, right? But if Kyler only has let's say I think he has 1 interception, maybe 2 this year, but he doesn't have a ton of interceptions, but he usually just, if every once in a while he just kind of he's running out and it's like he doesn't see a defender and he throws it right to him. And so so a bad interception could really hurt things. And then I would probably say, the last one I would probably say is, I'd say is your running back, Miles Sanders, because our team has struggled against the run. And if you all get running on us, that could be, that could make for a long day as well.
Nice. Now give me 3 players you look to be the leaders and make the impact this week against our team.
So obviously Kyler, he's got to make stuff happen. So that's going to be one. I'm going to go with Byron Murphy Jr. as another one. He's a cornerback we drafted in the 2nd round. The year we drafted Kyler, and he's better in the slot than outside. He's been a little up and down, but he's had some great games. I don't know if y'all noticed when we played the Raiders, but Devontae Adams, 2 receptions for 12 yards. He had a touchdown on a nice pick play at the goal line. And that was mostly Byron Murphy Jr. Now he's not he's not a guy who consistently shuts people down like Jalen Ramsey, but he's shown he can play at that level for stretches. He can play well at times. So if he can have a good game, right? I mean, like anyone who holds Devontae Adams 2 receptions for 12 yards, if he can place equally as well or even close to that well, against AJ Brown, or at least try to keep him from, destroying us kind of a thing, that could go a long way. So Byron Murphy Jr. would be another one. And then I'm going to go with Jalen Thompson. He's a guy, a safety who I think is underrated. Cardinals fans love him. We call his nickname here is the Eraser. He's our best open field tackler. He cleans up those plays. When someone gets past our first couple lines of defense, he prevents a 17-yard play from becoming a 70-yard play. You know what I'm saying? He's that guy. So if he can help, prevent those big plays, in the running game or with from your receivers by cleaning things up, that could definitely help this defense a lot.
Nice. Yeah, my number one concern is Kyler, obviously. Mm-hmm. That is where it starts and, begins and ends is Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. Is he going to be off? What kind of game he's going to have? He's going to be on this game or is he going to be off this game? Because it's inside of a dome, so you're not really worried about the weather factor there. You know what I'm saying? It just matters what kind of game Kyler having if we're getting to him or not, mm-hmm. consistently. And then is Connor's playing, right? Connor's playing?
He's a little banged up. He'll probably play. He hasn't sat out a game yet, but he hasn't, they've been rotating those backs in. So
he's a big boy, yeah. But that's another guy that I worry about too. I've seen him go off on some people, and he's a threat in the pass game as well. So those two guys will probably be my main two focal points, and make sure you don't get these guys started. Because like I said with us, if you get that running game started, with these guys, it's going to be hard to stop the offense either side. Because that's going to open up Zach. That's going to open up Hollywood Brown. That's going to open up, Miles Sanders or AJ or, what I'm saying? Like on both sides, I feel like we kind of got mirrored squads on the offensive side of football. But, and then our defense just got to come out there and play lights out like we've been doing the last 3 weeks there. And we should be all right there. We should be in a good situation there. Like I said, I don't know I'm not saying it's going to be some blowout. I really would love to see it be one of those games like the first time they played 2 years ago. I was just a shootout to the end. That was an exciting football game. Mm-hmm. I would love to see that happen. So that's what I think. That would be my takes. Give me 3 hot takes for the game. Give me 3 things you think. Give me some juicy hot takes too.
Oh, juicy hot takes, man. All right. Hollywood, and these are just a kind of bold predictions, so I don't, maybe these don't happen, but Hollywood Brown beats Darius Slay for a deep touchdown. He's fast. We know Hollywood Brown is crazy fast.
Yes.
And Slay's a good cornerback, but he hasn't had that big play yet, right? Where he gets behind the defense and goes for 6 like that, right? His stuff has been more short and intermediate. So hot take would be he gets one of those plays off, right? So that obviously Cardinals fans would love to see. We've kind of been waiting for that. Another hot take. I'm going to say the Cardinals get multiple sacks, which doesn't sound like that hot of a take, but we've only got 4 sacks on the season, I think. Most of them coming from the inside pass rushers like J.J. Watt and Zach Allen. We have 1 sack from our outside linebackers, but the Cardinals pass rushers have been one of the top teams in pass rush win rate, ESPN stat. So what that tells you is they're beating their initial man, but they're just not getting lucky in getting the quarterback or pulling him down. They've had the quarterback in the grasp and he throws the ball, right? So they've been getting pressure. They just haven't been able to get it home. So I'm going to say that they find a way to do that. If you look at it, when I was looking at your offense, your offensive line is good, but the left side, hasn't played as well as the right side. It looks like you said, is banged up. So maybe there's a chance for the Cardinals to take advantage of that a little bit, get a little bit of pass rush going. And then the third one, again, go bold prediction. I'm going to say the Cardinals get at least 1 interception on Hurts. We've got some guys who can make some plays in the secondary, who can get some, guys again, Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker, our quarterbacks. So So I'll say, I mean, Hurts has played well, but he's got a couple interceptions here. He has thrown a couple picks. So I'll say that we get a couple interceptions too.
Yeah, well, Jalen don't like to turn over the ball.
Yeah.
That's just not his deal. Like even the last two tipped off, receivers' hands. Like I think that's the only what he had 2 or 3 picks, and only one of them I think was okay. That was horrible. The other 2 were just like coincidentally happened in there. So I don't think Jalen's. Well, that's a good hot take because I don't think he's going to turn over the ball. I hope he doesn't turn over the ball. I like him being one of those quarterbacks that you don't have to worry about. Because over his career, he's not one of those guys that consistently turns over the ball, and that's something to be proud about when you're a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say 3 hot takes is Jalen. I've been doing this all season long, the same hot take because it hasn't happened yet. But Jalen Hurts, because I remember the battle last time. Jalen Hurts would get his first 400-yard game. You know what I'm saying? I've been saying it every week. He made it 350, 330. You know what I'm saying? The Eagles, all 4 weeks, we've been over 400 yards offense total, but he hasn't got over the 400-yard mark. I think if Tua can do it, you've seen all these other quarterbacks do it. I don't want to see Jalen put one of those up, on his career stat. I would say Dallas Goedert, he comes out and he becomes the focal point. Every week we had a different star step up. First week it was AJ. Second week was a little bit of everybody. Everybody, the running backs, the receivers, all were about 80 yards. Around that mark. They all had touchdowns. It was kind of spread out really evenly. And then you had Devontae Smith come out and have a huge game. And then you had last game you had Miles Sanders come out just to kill it. Career high game. So this game I want to see Dallas take his his name to fame and show that he is one of the best tight ends in the game. And, he sees the person that helped mold him and Zach Ertz on that sideline. He's like, hey, Zach, look what I learned from you, get open, make plays down the field, and let him have a career game this week. That'll be my next hot take. I want to see Dallas get probably at least 2 touchdowns, 125 yards. That would just be a monster game for, a guy like Dallas Goedert. So, and then on defense, I want to 3 turnover, 4 sack game. You know what I'm saying? Like, we 1 week we were just sacking the hell out of, a team. Carson Wentz, thank you, Carson, for just sitting there in the pocket for so long, letting us be able to beat you up like that. And then last week it was just a turnover machine. You know what I'm saying? We just kept getting turnovers. So, the weather did help. But, there was plays, like you seen, Reddick go over there and make the plays with the strip fumbles. He's really good at that. And I think I would love to see maybe 3-4 turnovers and then get at least 3-4 sacks too. Let's see it look nice. Maybe even a defensive touchdown.
Well, I think if you get those turnovers, some of them are going to be fumbles. Kyler will throw interceptions, but he's not a big time interception guy. He doesn't. I don't know if he's thrown 3 in the game. Maybe he has once. But but the fumbles, that happens sometimes with the Cardinals. So, if you're going to get those 3, I think I would imagine 1 to 2 of those would be fumbles.
Nice. Well, that's what we're hoping for.
Right. Yeah. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
What do you think? Well, how close do you think this game's going to be? I forgot. What was the spread on it?
It's 5.5 games, I think. 5.5 points, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How close do you think? And give me a score prediction.
I do think it's going to be close. This is the worst hedge. It's either being close or it isn't. No, that's the worst answer ever, right? But if the Cardinals are turning the corner, right, and they're becoming the team I hope they're going to become, it's going to be close, right? If they aren't, you all might blow us out, right? If we come out slow like we did.
Yeah.
But I am a diehard Cardinals fan. I absolutely believe the Cardinals can beat the Eagles. But objectively speaking, I'm going to give the edge to the Eagles. I'm going to say 28-24 Eagles.
Nice. I like that one. That's a nice close little score there. Like you said, it just matters. If they're doing what they're doing and we stay on the same path without a blip, I think this can be a really big game. Our games start out really close and then we kind of pull away. So I will say I would like to see the Eagles win 31-17. You know what I'm saying? Not too much. It starts out really close. You see this nice battle. But then, late in the season, we do what we do best, and that's just show that we can run that football. Last year we were the number 1 rushing team in the league. This year we're up there, I think, top 3. I know Miles Sanders is the 3rd leading rusher in the league right now. let's just run the football, scores, make some scores late, just kind of pull away, because I think our second half, we haven't been putting up that many points. You know what I'm saying? All of our points come from the second quarter, so I want to see this week be like the first week where in that second half, we're actually still scoring points. We're still putting on the show for the fans. And, it's not going to be, it seems like it's a big differential, but it won't look so much, in the beginning of the game. It kind of happens as the season goes on if we can get to Kyler like I think we can.
I'm going to tell you, if you look at game trends though, and listen, this is the thing with game stats and trends. You look at them and they give you an idea of what you think will happen, but sometimes the NFL just says, nah, I'm going to do something different, right?
Completely
Games
opposite.
sometimes go nothing like you expect, right? But if you look at game trends, I'm going to tell you and thank you for that, Oates. I try to be objective as best I can. If you look at game trends, the path for the Eagles to win this game is not keep it close and pull away. And I'll tell you why. And I did this for my reaction to I did a video reacting to the Cardinals week 4 game. And I looked at the numbers. In the first half, the Cardinals have scored 16 points in the first half of games. In the second half of games, they've scored 65 points this season.
Ooh.
16 points in the first half of games.
You guys like 65. The opposite.
Right.
You guys scoring all your points in the second half instead of the first half.
But the defense does the same thing. Points allowed in the first half, 66. Points allowed in the second half, 34.
Okay.
Like this team, shut down the Rams, the Raiders in the second half, gave up 6 points to Kansas City. To Carolina in the second half. So listen, obviously things can go different than these trends, but the path, based on what's happened thus far, the path for the Eagles to win is to take a big lead, and the Cardinals can't catch up can't do enough to catch up in the second half, like what happened with Kansas City and the Rams, right?
Right.
Again, game scripts don't always go like we think, but man,
you think these guys are about to go out there and be the Kyler and Hurts show, and then scoring to being 9-3. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
4 field goals. You're like, what's going on with the offense, man? What's going on with the offense? That's what I love about the NFL. Is you never know what really is going to happen. We can just go out there and think, imagine what we hope to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we think we know what's going to happen, and something completely out of left field, but that's part of what makes it fun, right?
Well, as first-time guest on my show, I like to do a thing called the all-time team. This is just going to be the all-time team. As long as you've been a Cardinals fan, you know what I'm saying? Just your favorite players. They don't have to be number 1 in the Cardinals record book or nothing like that. Just the players you like watching. So I usually just spit out some positions, give me a couple players at each position. And then we usually just go through it. It's like a little fun little thing we like to do at the end of the shows here. We start out with the quarterback. Who will be your starting all-time Cardinals quarterback, and who will be backing them up?
Man, this is a tough one because, I love Kyler. I'm full on a Kyler stan. But then, you've got, Carson Palmer played well for us, right? Yeah. Kurt Warner. If I'm wanting to win games consistently, it's probably Kurt Warner, okay. Hall of Famer. But in terms of, I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction here. It's not the guy I necessarily think we're going to win with, but the guy who, to me, just has a place in my heart is an interesting story, and that's Jake Plummer.
I love Plummer.
Yeah.
Plummer was a beast. Jake the Snake Plummer.
And I got and this is personal history for me. Like I mentioned, I'm from Arizona. I live in Georgia now because my career has brought me here, but I lived in Arizona I was born there, lived in California, back to Arizona from 1987 through 2008. Okay. So spent a good stretch there. And, I remember living in Arizona when Jake Plummer played for Arizona State University. And he took that team to the Rose Bowl, had an amazing, college career with Arizona State. So he was already kind of this local legend in Arizona, right? There was this energy surrounding him, right? There was this energy. And then the Cardinals drafted him, right? So it's this local guy who's already got this kind of bigger than life status in Phoenix. And then the Cardinals draft him in the second round. And up to that point, the Cardinals hadn't had any quarterbacks that were really, particularly good in their time in Arizona, right? So this was the guy who was supposed to take out take us to the promised land, right? And he didn't quite live up to that, but he did take them to a playoff game, beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. And he was an interesting dude. Oh, shout out 19th Avenue, right? Nice. I used to live at like near 19th Avenue in Union Hills when I lived in Phoenix, up in the north side of town. But yeah, I spent a lot of time around. I used to work near 19th, more like 27th in Indian School. But yeah, no, I know where 19th Avenue is. What are you doing being an Eagles fan out there in Phoenix? Anyway.
Hey, you know what we're to be cheering for, you know?
Yeah.
My mom's actually out in Mesa now, Arizona. So
nice.
A lot of family out in Arizona. That's pretty cool.
I was not. Granders was saying Joseph was not born yet when they had. No, I was born when they had Neil Lomax. And he was pretty good, but he was that guy. He was their quarterback when they moved to Arizona. And he was a good quarterback, but you know, he was only there for maybe a year or so of the Arizona. Okay, 19th and Camelback. I know that area. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, yeah. Neil Lomax is a good quarterback, but he was there. You know, he was with the St. Louis Cardinals. They moved. He was there, and I maybe played a year or two with them, and then, you know, and stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Jake Plummer's for the history and the story. And I'll tell you one quick story. When the Cardinals beat the Cowboys in that playoff game, when the team was returning home, flying home from Dallas, they kind of announced on local radio station, hey, if you want to come greet the team, come out to this parking lot at this place by the airport. They're going to pull the plane up, whatever. So I went out there standing in a dirt lot with, you know, thousands of Cardinals fans cheering on the Cardinals as they pulled the plane up, had like a platform there, and they all came out and addressed the crowd. And, you know, there was just kind of a neat memory after they had won the playoff. And asking about what about Kurt? Like, Kurt Warner's up there. You know, I mentioned him. If I gotta pick a quarterback that we're gonna win games with, he's probably that guy, right? But for me, the Jake Plummer, there's just something because he. Well,
you can have
Arizona
Kurt back
State.
up Jake, right? Those would be your two quarterbacks. I said you can have Kurt back up Jake.
There you go, right? And, you know, there you go. So, you know, Jake Plummer is just that guy because he played at Arizona State. They drafted him out of there, and just there's something about that that's kind of homegrown, even though he's from Idaho. But, you know, there's something about that that's homegrown and close to my heart. It's that memory from those years. So
give me 3 running backs.
3 running backs. First has got to be Larry Centers. He was technically a fullback, but dude had 100 receptions before it was popular for running backs to catch the ball. You know what I mean? Like, this dude did it before the era where everyone's got a running back who catches the ball today. Larry Centers was a really, really underrated player. He didn't run the ball a ton, but like, I think he's like 12th leading. I think he's like number 12 in the Cardinals in terms of career receptions, and he's a running back, something like that. He's on that list. So Larry Centers is there. I got to go with David Johnson. I know he fell off a cliff in terms of his play, but like I'm going to go with David Johnson. Just for a short stretch, he was so good, right? He was a guy we drafted in the 3rd round. So David Johnson, and man, I'm probably going to go with. I just really like James Conner. You know, I like the way he plays the game, right? So I'll probably go with James Conner.
Nice. He said Johnny Johnson. Is that a running back? Johnny
Johnson was drafted by the Cardinals. I think it was the same year that Emmitt Smith was drafted by the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken. He's the guy they drafted, played a couple years, and then he went to the Jets, I believe, later in his career. But he was a nice running back. Yeah.
So Johnson was the same single-handedly won 2 leagues. Nice. All right, so let's move forward. Let's go to tight end. Give me 2 tight ends.
Oh man, we have not had good tight ends. I'm gonna go with Zach Ertz and Max Williams. And Max Williams. Seriously, we just haven't had those guys. The team just has not had good tight ends. If you look through, you know, you have guys a long time ago, but like in the time that they've been in Arizona, they just haven't had that guy. Max Williams is a really nice blocking. Hey, Tanner, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate that. Max Williams is a really good blocking tight end. underrated as a receiver. He's not a big time receiving tight end, but he can catch the ball. And then obviously you all know about Zach Ertz. So right now, those two guys would be my tight ends. And, this is from my memory. I know there's some guys that were before my time that were really good, but those would be the guys.
These are his favorite players, Graham. Favorite players.
Come on, let me have my favorite players. Now, Graham is a good dude.
Let's go with 4 receivers.
Okay.
You guys got some good ones.
Got to go with Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitz.
Hands down. Larry Fitz is the man, the legend. Absolutely. I also, I know like the way he left the Cardinals, it was a little bit tense, not on best terms, but Anquan Bolden was such a good receiver. They drafted him, I think, in the 2nd round. I think he fell because he didn't have a great 40-yard dash time, didn't run particularly well, but that dude was a beast. I mean, just the beast. Physical, like that guy, when he had the ball in his hand, man, there aren't many receivers that were that physical. So Anquan Bolden is up there. I probably put DeAndre Hopkins. Dude is just so good. One of the best receivers we've had. So I'd probably go with him. And then I'm going to go with kind of a guy who's maybe a little under the radar, but was a nice receiver for us with the Cardinals, who was kind of a nice possession receiver, Ricky Prohl. Played with the Cardinals for a while, and I think he might have gone on to be with the Rams, but he was a nice receiver for the Cardinals for a while as well. And so
he did. He did go to.
Yeah,
was he on that Greatest Show on Turf team?
He might have been as part of that team. I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
Okay. Give me a starting offensive line. You don't have to go depth. Just go across the board, left tackle to right tackle.
We haven't had a lot of great offensive linemen either, but so like. This is tough. I think we had a guy, Luis Sharp, who's pretty good at tackle. He's had some, unfortunately, off the field issues and struggles, but he's pretty good for us. AQ Shipley was a center who played for the Cardinals for a while. They probably had better centers, but he was a guy that we really kind of liked. For tackle, the other tackle, I like DJ Humphries. I think he sometimes he gets kind of a little bit of hate, but I think he's been really good. For guards, they just signed him, but I really love Will Hernandez. I think he's going to be really good for them. He's only played 4 games thus far, but I think he's good. He's going to be good for them. And there's another guard. His last name was Wells. Reggie Wells, maybe that was his name. I'm trying to remember. He was I have to Google him. I think that was who was a nice guard. Wells. Reggie Wells played, that's the guy. He was a nice guard who played for the Eagles and the Cardinals. So there's a guy we've got a little bit of both teams. So I'll go with him.
Nice. What about the defensive line?
Got to have Calais Campbell.
And when we do this, we do 4-3 base. So you got 2 ends, 2 tackles.
Gotcha. Okay. So Calais Campbell's interesting because he's like a 3-4 end. So you probably put him at tackle in a 4-3, even though it's not a perfect fit. But I would go. So we're gonna go with you got to go with Calais Campbell. Love that dude.
Yes.
Darnell Dockett. That dude was
Dockett was
so
good.
Oh man, so good. And then I'll probably go with. It's tough. Like maybe, Simeon Rice was really good. He had some great years.
Simeon was really good football player.
He was really good. He went to Tampa Bay and played a lot of years there, but he was really good. And I'm going to say, even though he just left, but like Chandler Jones was really good for us for a number of years, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a big one there. Simeon Jones, Calais Campbell, Chandler, nice, and Dockett. That's
Eric Swan's another good name. That dude was a beast of a defensive tackle. Bertrand Berry was another good name. Yeah.
What about 3 linebackers?
So with linebackers, Carlos Dansby, guy they drafted out of Auburn, right? Who played with us, then went somewhere else, came back a couple of times. Really like Dansby. There's, let's see, what was his name? There was a guy who played. Man, you're really testing me on memory, and I've got a list here to see if some of the guys. are on there, and he's on here. I want to say, was it oh man, it's from man, my brain's
Jordan Hits, even. You like Jordan Hits, where you guys?
Ronald McKinnon. That's a good one. Eric Hill. Eric Hill is the guy. Eric Hill is who I'm trying to remember. Thank you. Eric Hill is going to be on that list. Carlos Dansby. I'm sorry. Who were you saying?
Jordan Hits. Another
he was a
Eagle.
nice player. Got a little Eagles history. But there's another guy who played with Arizona and then went to Washington, who was a little bit more of an outside linebacker who's really good. But I'm going to say to get this going along, I'm going to say Eric Hill, Carlos Dansby, definitely on the list. And Ronald McKinnon was a nice inside linebacker for them too. So I'll probably go with him. He had some nice years for them. So I think those three.
Good football for sure.
Yeah.
Let's go cornerback. Give me 3 corners.
Aeneas Williams absolutely has to be on that list. Aeneas Williams has to be on that list. And as much as he's Cardinals fans have been a little bit of a love-hate relationship with him because of kind of, the way he left with some chatter, got to still have Patrick Peterson on that list.
Patrick, right? Yeah.
Peterson, Patrick Peterson's got to be on there. So did you say 2 cornerbacks?
3.
3. Okay. I'm probably Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. He was another guy who was pretty good for them that they drafted. That
Rodgers-Cromartie, yeah. DRC, we had DRC for a bit.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, it's good. He was good.
Nice.
Let's go with 2 safeties.
Adrian Wilson, hands down, has to be on the list. That's my guy. He's with the organization, the front office. Absolutely love Adrian Wilson. And then I'm going to also go with Budda Baker.
Budda Baker, the new guy. Yes, he plays some good football for sure.
Yeah,
one of the best safeties out there. Let's see.
Tim McDonald's a good player. The late Kwame Lassiter, rest in peace, was a great player. Some good options there, but definitely Adrian Wilson.
Yeah, Buchanan. That was a good one too.
Yeah, except they played him as like a dollar linebacker. They drafted him as a safety, but played him as an inside linebacker. I actually, like we talked about, bless you, mismanaging careers with Hassan Reddick. Like if they hadn't moved Buchanan to linebacker, I wonder if he'd still be playing as a safety in the league right now. But that's a whole other conversation.
Kicker and punter.
Kicker and punter. I think Neil Rackers for kicker is a guy who was really good for a lot of years. And Scott Player, I think, at punter, I think was really good for them for a lot of years. So probably go with those 2.
Returner.
I'm going to give a name you're going to love here. Ready for this?
Let's go.
Vi Sikahema.
What?
He played for the Eagles, but he was a Cardinal first.
Who?
Vi Sikahema? Oh, come on. Dude.
A return specialist?
You don't know Vi Sikahema. Anyone in the chat remember Vi Sikahema?
Yeah, dude, anybody help me.
I might have to call on your Eagles card, your fan, fan card. Vi Sikahema.
Of course, Grant does.
Yes. Vi Sikahema, he played with the Cardinals, right? He was
what year are we talking here?
We're talking 90s, 80s, actually. Dude, see? Thank you, Grandizer. So Vi Sikahema, let me get his stats, okay? He was born in Mesa, Arizona, so he's from the same town I was born in. But he played for the St. Louis, then the Phoenix Cardinals, Green Bay, and Philadelphia. He played in 92 and 93. So he played 2 years. But he was a really good kickoff return man. Let's see, his kick returns. He had averaged 20.3 yards to return. And then on punt returns, averaged like 12.6 yards to return in 1992. So Vi Sikahema. I just dropped an Eagles name you didn't know.
Yeah, you did.
I win.
You stumped me now, and I was still like, wait a minute. I'm like, how old was I at this time?
Okay, he's NBC Sportscast. That's good. Okay. Yeah, so you got Vi Sikahema. Check him out. He was a good return man for both teams. So yeah, that's who I'm going with just because of the Philly connection too, just to throw that out there.
That was a good one. I like it. I'm gonna have to check out some of his highlights. Give me an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, and a head coach for this team.
Oh man.
Eagles.
Defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator and head coach. So offensive coordinator, I think John Fossil was one of our, or is it John Fossil was his dad? The one who won. No, it was his dad. Let's see, his Jim Fossil.
Jim Fossil, yeah.
He was I believe he was an offensive coordinator for Arizona before he went to, I'm looking at his, he was offensive coordinator in 1996. Then he went to New York Giants and I believe won a Super Bowl with them, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll go with him because he was a guy who was a good offensive coordinator and went on. Defensive coordinator, I'm going to go with a guy who's actually coaching right now in Tampa Bay. And that is Todd Bowles. He was a really good defensive coordinator for us. Got that head coaching job with the Jets, didn't succeed there, but no one was going to succeed there. Actually was a competitive team, but wasn't able to keep that job. But I think Todd Bowles would be the defensive coordinator. Head coach, anybody but Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, I'd probably go with Bruce Arians. He got us. We had probably the most successful coach I've watched in terms of Cardinals tenure. So that's probably who I'd go with.
You guys had someone, even Dennis Green. I remember him too. Yeah.
Good
one.
Denny
well,
Green.
That's good, man. Hey, that's a good list there. I like that team. That sounds like, you had some nice players, a couple players I didn't know. So that was always good. It's always good to learn new players. So let's just go ahead and wrap this thing up there, buddy. So we both got the Eagles winning, close game. Give me your final thoughts of the game and let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah, final thoughts are, listen, Eagles are a good team. Y'all having a great year. I sincerely hope you enjoy the year. And keep it rolling. You have a deep roster, but don't underestimate this Cardinals team. They've come out the gate stumbling, no doubt. But this team has some playmakers on both sides of the ball, and they've shown an ability to play really well in stretches. So if this team, when you watch the Cardinals, it feels like they're like this far from putting it together. Like, it's not like their offense is just not able to do anything. They're getting drives and then a penalty and it stumbles, right? Some little things. So the Cardinals could be one of those teams that's getting ready to turn the corner and become one of the better teams in the NFL. So don't underestimate them. But objectively speaking, Eagles got to be favored at this point in the game. They've earned that, right? Where you can find me, again, the Cardinal Rule on YouTube. That's really the main place to find me. That's where I do most of my content. I do some stuff on YouTube, on Twitter as well. You'll find me there. It's at JOKOMO13 at JOKOMO13. But my social links are all on YouTube as well. So, and I appreciate you having me here. This is
thanks again. Anytime, man. Anytime you want to chop it up, talk some football. We definitely get on here again. It was great having you on.
And real quick shout out to Grandizer. He's a great supportive content creator. I don't know if he's normally in your streams, but
Grand helps me.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere, man. He knows everybody. He knows everything. He's always throwing people you should work with, and I love working because he always gives me great guys. So he definitely recommended you too as well.
Awesome.
So shout out to you, Grant, for doing your thing, my guy. But hey, it's going to be a good game, guys. I do feel like the Eagles. This is not the end of this run right now. I think we've been winning, but we've been winning with a little bit to prove, a little bit to improve on. So I think that we continue to improve. And I feel like that loss, if we get one, will be after you've seen us at like our max power. Like, whoa, look at these guys, they seem unstoppable, and then that person comes in and knocks us out. As opposed to like you're watching these games and you're actually seeing them. Still have room to grow, and they still need to keep going. So I think it should be a good game. Hopefully my Birds come out on top. We can go 5-0, going into Jerry's world, to go beat up on the Cowboys. So like I always say at the end of my videos, fly, Eagles, fly. Till next time, it's BG and Joe. We out.
Peace.
Peace.